Because we are back. This is 20XX the podcast. It's a video game review show for the Mega Man series. Each episode will review one Mega Man title as nominated by you, and we'll rank said title on our master list of the greatest Mega Man games of all time. I am your host, Kyle Von Kubik, and I'm joined along with
Keith the Robo Duke.
Of course. The beat to my Eddie.
That was me jumping down. Yeah. Oh, why do I have to be beat? Couldn't I be...
You want to be Eddie instead?
Well, oh, wait, you're right. Never mind. No, you can be Eddie.
Yeah, at least beat in, Mega Man 4? Oh, no, 5? Or was it 4? I think it was 5. He was like the ultimate weapon against Wily. Anyway, we're also joined along with Johnny Capcom.
Yeah, I don't like Mega Man.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah, the guy whose last name is Capcom hates Mega Man.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
We're talking Mega Man X this episode, also known as Rockman X in Japan. It was released December 17th, 1993, developed by Capcom, published by Capcom, and it falls in the genre, of course, of an action-adventure platformer. I would even say it's a non-linear exploratory platformer in some cases.
This game broke the mold a little bit when it came to platforming games. And considering some we'll get into later, it was kind of early for some of that stuff. I had figured some other games had come before this to set the standard.
Yes.
But they did not. And once again, Mega Man is, He's top of the heap when it comes to action platformers. For me,
sure.
I know we have someone here who doesn't like Mega Man. For me, he is a standard setter, at least up until this game.
Capcom really started the genre with the initial core Mega Man series on the Nintendo, right? There was...
And now we're finally... I know we jumped these games in our original list for doing 1 through 11, but this is really where... So we went through a lot of changes, but we didn't get to see what was going on the other side.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yeah, this is where it's going to get buck wild, because Season 2 of 20XX is now going to explore Mega Man titles as nominated by the listeners, which means we're going to be talking everything from Mega Man 64, or I guess Mega Man Legends, depending on what system you played it on, to Mega Man Soccer, to the Wily Wars, to the Rockman board game that was on the Nintendo in Japan only. Every Mega Man game is up for grabs, so make sure you get those nominations in by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Stitcher. And speaking of buck wild, this game was developed at the same time as Mega Man 6 for the Nintendo.
Capcom, if the Mega Man franchise was a cow, okay, the NES's teeth was atrophied at this point, and they were just squeezing blood out of it.
Oh, it's a wonderful visual.
And they got every drop of juice they could. Yeah, weirdly enough, I don't remember this game being a thing. I don't really remember Mega Man being a big deal in gaming. I think he was a bigger deal in the US and Japan.
Are you serious? Really? Mega Man wasn't a big deal in Ireland. Okay.
I don't remember people talking about it.
Huh.
People talked about Zelda a lot, Mario and Street Fighter and all the rest, but like I never really knew anybody who was like a big Mega Man fan.
It is fascinating to me with Ireland and the UK, like the 8-bit computer scene kind of overshadowed the rollout of the Nintendo, and because of that, there's interesting little things like that where Mega Man evidently is not as popular. Even though it was like the bread and butter of the Nintendo here in America, for sure. Everyone who had a Nintendo had at least a Mega Man game.
I'm sure people were fans of it. And like you can get the PAL cartridges and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the UK is kind of a weird example because Nintendo didn't initially release and market the NES in the UK. Mattel did.
Right.
So they handled all of that, and they just could not compete with the 8-bit micros.
Right.
Because Mattel were essentially releasing this really expensive toy that had, like these really expensive cartridges, and you were going up against like a user base of millions with these the 8-bit micros, and you could go buy your games for £1 a piece,
right, or trade them,
as opposed,
right, like
or steal them,
yeah.
The C64 and the Amstrad and stuff like that. That was what had the real 8-bit penetration as far as that era of gaming goes at home. Super Nintendo Mega Drive, they completely killed all those 8-bit micros, to be honest with you.
Sure.
There was no like the Amiga was quite popular and the Atari ST was popular, but those were only for rich people, to be honest with you. Nobody, like all the people who would have previously owned the C64, they were buying Super Nintendos now because they were more affordable than a home computer, essentially, which is what the others were. If you go back and look at the prices of those computers, like, they're ridiculous. Again, for some reason, I think that's maybe why Mega Man didn't have the cultural penetration that it did for you guys.
Capcom was looking to take a fresh take on Mega Man, and with Mega Man X, they also sought to create a more mature and sophisticated Mega Man game with a strong emphasis on world building and story. The game's main antagonist, Sigma, was meant to be more complex of a villain than Dr. Wily, someone with layers instead of just being like a Dick Dastardly type. Keiji Inafune designed Zero as the initial Mega Man character. So Homeboy with flowing locks and laser sword was supposed to be X. I don't want to get into the whole, Vega is Sagat and Sagat is M. Bison sort of territory with Street Fighter, but if you can picture Zero, then just picture him as the main protagonist of the X series. However, there was a lot of fear that there'd be backlash over this dramatic departure for what Mega Man looked like. So Hayato Keiji started working with Keiji Inafune to come up with a more traditional looking Mega Man while still being different. Keiji also worked on the Robot Masters from the original series. So the two worked together and they came up with a design of X, and it looks close enough to Mega Man from the core series with being something different. Another departure from the core Mega Man series was the dropping of the man surname to all the bosses. So in Season 1, we went over all the different bosses. There's Flash Man, Metal Man, Woodman, for example. Instead, Mega Man X's bosses were all these anthropomorphic androids with names like Flame Mammoth and Armored Armadillo and Launch Octopus, and everyone's favorite, Boomer Twanger, which I can only chalk up to the whole extreme movement in the 90s that was going on with everything was a Z or an X, and here, here's an animal and a weapon.
Just further proliferation of furry culture taking over everything. Yeah. But I do want to say with Zero, I'm kind of glad he wasn't the main character, because for me, it made him more like the cool Boba Fett.
Sure.
Like, you don't get to play as him, but he's got a laser sword. I want a laser sword. But if you just immediately got to play as him in that first Mega Man X game, he wouldn't have come off as mysterious or cool.
Yeah, I think it would have been the sort of Legend of Zelda to Legend of Zelda 2, if that makes sense. Like, it was such a dramatic departure from what everybody expected that, like, now people are like, I like Link's Adventure. I'm sorry, but Link's Adventure is not a good game. But
Kyle, John hates Mega Man, but he loves Link's Adventure. What are you doing?
I'm sorry, John. Link's Adventure is not a good game. In my opinion.
I don't care. I never even played it.
Oh, no? I know you're a big Zelda boy, though.
Oh, I do love Zelda, but for me, that starts with Link's Awakening. I didn't really play the 8-bits versions.
Because there was the core series, because there were fucking 6 Mega Man games on the NES, Mega Man was very well established, and I could understand why Inafune would want to do something as dramatic as having Zero be the new Mega Man, but I do think there would have been a lot of backlash with it.
Oh, for sure.
As a touch point here, Zero to me looks like if the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels was a Mega Man.
I'm totally here for this, even more now.
Like, I think...
yeah.
I would not be surprised if there was a little bit of influence there, because Sean was he was in peak flowing mullet era in 1993, so it's possible.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And I feel for Keiji Inafune, because I bet he was sitting there going like, I've done this 6 other times already.
Sure.
Can I do something new?
Right.
Can we have some kind of new character? Like, I'm tired of drawing this blue motherfucker. You know,
Yeah.
like,
and then he broke
but,
out, and what did he
you
do?
know,
Mighty number 9.
That's what I was thinking.
Still not terrible. But I'll say this: you can ask for us to review that.
Oh yeah. You could nominate that by leaving us a 5-star review.
Yeah. I want to open it up to Mega Man, like that game, and also fan games. If you know a very good fan-based Mega Man game,
hole?
I want us
All
to,
right.
because there are tons, and like we need more content, because like we're gonna get tired of playing Battle Network at some point, and there are like 50 of those.
True.
But you know,
Sure.
Somebody nominate Astro Boy on the Game Boy Advance.
right as you said, the best Mega Man game.
Yeah, I love that game. It's so great.
John, what is the plot of Mega Man X?
Same shit, different decade. That's the. It's Mega Man, but it's edgier. Where it's like, yeah, there's monsters and robots out there you gotta defeat, and one of them probably does heroin.
Oh boy.
Because it's grunge time.
It is the same old shit, but in the far off future of 21XX, basically Dr. Light decided before he died to build one more robot. Apparently Mega Man didn't have full free will, so he made one called X, but he realized the Earth wasn't ready for X.
Right.
So he was going to study him for 30 years.
Study him.
To get
quote
him-
Unquote.
Go listen to go listen to Saturday Morning Crunch for more on that.
We're back into the Bryan Singer category.
But so he locks Mega Man down to be like studied for 30 years, but it turns out 100 years pass. A man named Dr. Kane unearths Mega Man, looks at him and goes, "Ooh, I'm going to replicate this." And that's where we get Reploids, who are a new type of robot in the universe who can think and feel and have free will.
Yeah, that worked out so well
Just
in Blade
like-
Runner.
Exactly, and just like their human creators, these robots start a bunch of wars. Yeah. Eventually, Sigma, who was a maverick hunter working with X and Zero, goes rogue because I think it is that sort of Blade Runner thing. It's a free will thing. Like they say that these robots are going nuts and they've gone maverick. Their programming's messed up, and Sigma sees it as like they're doing what they want. Like they're not. We have free will. Like this isn't some sort of virus. And he becomes a bad guy. And 8 of his furry maverick Reploid friends take it over to create their paradise. So of course X has to go and kill them all.
Of course, that's the only way to solve any problem.
I like the way you're saying, like, oh, they're doing what they want, which just so happens to be the same thing as all those other robots in those other Mega Man games.
Exactly, and just pretty much it is the same thing. Yeah. But now they're animals, and we have Sigma, who is scarier. He's not cartoony. He's serious.
He looks kind of like M. Bison, to be honest.
Yes, especially with the no pupils, like no iris or pupils, is a very M. Bison trait.
He looks like a human banana.
Explain, maybe?
He has a big banana head on him. Like, I've seen... Like, let me look him up here. I didn't play this game. What's this game about? Yeah, no, he does. He has kind of a weird kind of rounded... He's like one of the Bonanza brothers.
All right.
Oh, yeah. It is weird how his head does look like he's like popping out of like it's, one of those like you put your face through the like cardboard cutout to make yourself look like something else. They do a lot with his face though, in the same way Wily did a lot with Skulls. Mm-hmm. His many forms over the X games with his face being stretched and skewed and turned into other things. They do a lot with that.
Well, maybe the Super Nintendo let him down a bit here because I'm looking at updates of him and he's a bit more aggressive looking, but...
Oh yeah, X4. He looks fucking badass as hell in X4.
No,
He's awesome.
He had that kind of cutesy look to him, same way a lot of the Mega Man graphics did. I didn't really, I wasn't intimidated by him. Is what I'm saying.
Well, you should have watched the animated The Day of Sigma, a prequel to Mega Man X. That's a short episode that I believe came out the year this game came out, actually. But it was only aired in Japan, of course, originally.
Well, I'll watch it. That's all my Japanese study. It's all come to this.
So mechanic-wise, the idea of collecting pieces of X's armor through revisiting stages was the development team's response to the popularity of role-playing games at the time, which makes sense. And this is sort of the start of the, I dare say it, Metroidvania style of gameplay, where you unlock different areas by acquiring new skills, so you can go to different areas or find hidden areas to find more skills. The pieces of armor are hidden in areas throughout different stages, and most of them you're only able to access by utilizing the different unlockable skills, but some are just straight up skills of playing the character, like having mastery of the sprite, between the dash mechanic and wall jump.
Sorry, I have to ask, how the fuck is any kid supposed to know where that, is it not the helmet, the one that comes after the helmet?
It's the gun.
Is that, the one that's in the roof that you have to head? How are you supposed to know this piece of wall here that looks the same as every other piece of wall, there's nothing to tell you that it's any different?
Well, your parents should have got you Nintendo Power. Otherwise, you don't.
Yeah, I was about to say, I bet a lot of my success with this game as a kid was from Nintendo Power. Also, just want to correct myself, that Day of Sigma OVA came out in 2005 with the remake of Mega Man X, Mega Man Maverick Hunter X for the PlayStation Portable.
Okay, so everyone can stop writing their letters now. Thank you.
Yeah, stop writing your letters and correcting me. And you don't know Mega Man. You said you're the biggest Mega Man. Shut up. Yeah, game mechanic wise, I wanted to cite Super Metroid as an influence to this game. As you said, this could have been the first Metroidvania because it came out before Super Metroid, which blew my mind. I was like, no, this had to have come out after, but it didn't. And, you know, if this island you were on was interconnected, much like the planet in Super Metroid, and you had to walk from, base to base and find the secrets and get the weapons to go back and do that, we might be calling them Megavanias instead of Metroidvanias.
Nah, I don't want to go down this road again. Metroidvania is a fine jargon term for video game players. It's
for Metroid style games.
Yeah, but it's a terrible descriptor for video games when you're describing them to people who are not deeply entrenched in the culture, because there were so many games that did this prior to Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night.
Oh, yeah, like one we mentioned earlier in the show, Link's Adventure.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very early game in that style, so, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I appreciate about the game was, like, its approach to narrative. It was telling a story inside the game in a way that I don't think games really were doing back then, but games very much do now. If this game had been made 9 years later, it would have been, well, not 9 years, maybe 5 years later, it would have been on the Dreamcast, and there would have been lots of cinematics telling the story, whereas this, I don't know, it kind of got that visual storytelling thing done quite well, I found. And the graphics had taken a leap, obviously.
Sure.
As far as between one game and the next. And I don't know, like they had an anime look to them, and there was a lot of feeling and a lot of emotion from the characters,
right?
So I appreciate that, and it tells a cinema style story better than the cinema style games that were out at the time,
right?
Like Sewer Shark and Night Trap and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like this translates that kind of show not tell style of visual storytelling better, I think. The actual design of the levels as well, and like the way the game plays, I think it is a departure from the previous generation, where there was a lot more of the arcade philosophy of saying fuck you to the player and punishing them endlessly and not allowing them to the ghouls and ghosts style of game. This very much accepts the fact that you're going to play this at home and you're going to like play it at your own pace, and that you want to beat it.
Yeah.
You know, the game is set up to be beaten more or less. Like there are some obtuse elements to it, which I've already alluded to, but it's creating a home video game experience in a way that a lot of games weren't doing at the time.
Sure. Yeah, if listeners of the first season of 20XX will remember that when I was trying to play through Mega Man 9, I became so frustrated that I put the game down and decided to pretty much burn through Mega Man X, which was wild because, like, as a kid having Mega Man X, I didn't get nearly as far as I did in the span of, like, 90 minutes just playing out of spite. You know, we weren't even reviewing Mega Man X at the time. I'm just like, I don't want to play any more of this fucking game, but I still want to play a Mega Man game. And I just, like, burned through Mega Man. I'm like, oh, man, I'm in, like, the first stage of the end right now in 90 minutes flat. Why? Because I had, at that point, played 8 other goddamn Mega Man games. Yeah, I would agree that this departure from the core series stylistically worked, because it did have that edgy look about it without being like edgelord. But mechanically, it was almost like a second pass at bringing on a new audience to the Mega Man series. People who weren't just playing the core games, people who weren't just fans of Mega Man. Now it was this new thing that new people could play, and yeah, it doesn't punish you for attempting the game. It's a lot easier than some of the NES titles.
Oh yeah, it doesn't game over you.
Yeah.
Like you lose all your lives on a level, it goes, well, back to the stage select. You know, it doesn't say game over, start from the beginning, you know? And it's got a password system. Right. It's very easy to put the game down for a bit and come back to it later, which, you know, totally gets rid of the arcade style that came before it, as John mentioned.
Control-wise, I think the biggest addition that Mega Man X brings to the whole Mega Man series is that dash mechanic and wall jump. They're two excellent improvements on par with, you know, what we got from the core series, which was the slide.
Yeah, those features, like, they were... I mean, these were 16-bit editions, weren't they?
Yeah.
This is the future that we were promised.
Wall jumps and dashes.
And obviously learning from games like Ninja Gaiden and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's how games get better. Is that like a generation of advances then are distilled for the next generation to take up. I like the way the game plays. It definitely tries to think about how to make playing a Mega Man game more fun.
Yeah.
In that regard. Like they were thinking about, okay, how could we enhance this experience while retaining the challenge of the earlier games. I don't think they completely pulled it off to the way that future generations would have access to these ideas and could perfect them a bit more and refine them a bit more.
Yeah.
The wall jump is a bit janky at times, and tough to control. Like in my notes, like a perfect wall jump function, I think, if you want to see one, is in Super Meat Boy. Mm-hmm. Like that's how a wall jump should work. Here, though, again, they were forging forward. They had to figure out how to do it. And, this is a first draft, I suppose.
And as you mentioned, like, Super Meat Boy is standing on the shoulders of this game. Yeah.
I do think it would be nice, though, if Mega Man could duck. Because one of the things that I kind of resent about these games is that sometimes there are sections that your skill set as a player, like you learn how to jump and shoot and slide and all the rest, and it's like the game will just negate it. It's like you cannot get past this without getting hit.
And there is no
I think
slide.
If there was not even the slide thing. It's like the slide is another thing, but there's always these cheap sections where they'll just chip health away from you.
Yeah.
Now you can farm that health by getting the enemies to respawn. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just I prefer a game where it's like, if you get good, like we always tell Keith to do on his streams. But if you get good, like you can ace these levels. Yeah. And I don't really feel like that's possible in these. I think you're always going to get hit. And again, it would be nice if you could duck, because you're like, why can't he, if he can jump off the walls and whatever else, why can't he just kneel down?
He doesn't have knees. Mega Man doesn't have knees. He never has, and
I think you'll find he
never will.
In Tatsunoko versus Capcom, and Marvel versus Capcom.
That's true. That's okay. You're right. And in this game, the dash is kind of a duck. Sometimes you can't avoid some bullets by dashing under them, because Mega Man does get like lower enough. but not a lot. But then you're also dashing, so you're not staying in place, and you may want to stay in place. And yeah, like John said, there are moments in this game where they just flips you the bird, because if you watch me on twitch.tv/Roboduke, you will have heard me say many a times where certain enemies vanish after you kill them, and then certain enemies, when you come back to where they spawn, they will always respawn every single time. And that's like John said, they just want to chip health away at you, because you're not going to get through this without maybe getting hit and using the invincibility seconds to your advantage to get past it. But with the controls, I love the wall jump in this. The wall jump's one of my favorite abilities in any video game. I love having the ability to jump and either like grip the wall or slide down it like X does. And yeah, Meat Boy going forward definitely perfected this. So did a game I'm playing right now called Celeste, which is very similar to Meat Boy. Does a really good job with the wall jump, but also having a grip and climb. A lot like the game I always think of when it comes to wall jumping that I think did it first is Ninja Gaiden. I don't know if that's
First
true.
one I could think of.
There might be an arcade game that did that. I feel like we would have played it by now if there
I think
was.
Jet Set
yeah,
Wall
gonna
Jumping
say-
Willy.
It was tubing. Do you not remember the wall jumping in tubing? No?
Oh yeah, the wall jump bonus stage where you have your tube
yeah.
gets away from you, and you have to, it's where you reach the bottom and you have to climb back up.
Yeah. It's like the first person shooter sections in Robotron 2084.
Yes.
You know, everybody forgets about that, but you know, it did it first. It's not my fault. You're a fucking baby and you were around the arcades.
So Mega Man X is a much faster paced game than any of the Mega Man games that came out prior to it. Because of that, graphically, I think the only other comparison we can make in the 16-bit era would be Mega Man 7. Mega Man X is a little bit pulled back from the stage, whereas like the sprite isn't as chunky and big as the Mega Man sprite in Mega Man 7, and because of that, you have a little bit more of a free reign to understand the stage, what you're likely supposed to do, and how you're supposed to navigate it with these new mechanics, which makes the game very interesting for me. And I do like the graphical presentation where, yes, it looks like a Mega Man game, but it does have this edgier aesthetic and does look a little bit more mature than your Mega Man 7, which look more like, you know, your Saturday morning cartoon.
It's a great looking game. Capcom games on the Super Nintendo are some of the best looking games ever, I think I could say with confidence. The sprite work is so good in these. The backgrounds I love a lot. The parallax scroll in all these levels looks so great. They do a really good job to give a lot of depth. A lot of like I think immediately of in the very first stage how the bee, it has a lot of 3 dimensions. Like you can see how rounded that craft is.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you couldn't do that with 8-bit color. And they all look so good. And I'm immediately reminded of one of our favorite games, Kyle, which also came out the same year. Like, Capcom was killing it in 1993 because Aladdin, also came out that same year. So, like, 2 of my favorite Super Nintendo games came out in 1993, and like, you can see that level of skill and class between those 2 games with Capcom in this time. They were killing it.
For Disney to trust their licensing to Capcom, especially in the 90s, does say something about the quality of their art department.
It reminds me a lot of its contemporaries. The game that came to mind immediately when I started thinking about graphical comparisons was actually Eco Fighters.
Interesting.
It just has the same kind of, I don't know, I can tell the same people worked on it.
Sure.
Or the same people came from the same school of design, same design philosophy. So it's very much of its time, and in a good way.
Right.
Because that was when there's a lot of innovation going on in pixel art in particular.
That could have been a villain in the X series, like Dive Bombing Dolphin.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with Eco Fighters, get hip and you'll understand that joke.
Eco Fighters is a fun game,
is.
and it's got a weird like erection joke in the continue screen.
Yeah, don't spoil that.
For the kids.
Yeah. Look that up. Give it a Google. The music in Mega Man X is fucking awesome. it's so good. It's your butt rock, you know, with the synth happening.
I like the music. It didn't stand out to me the way though a lot of the NES ones did.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but like I like the Mega Man 2 music in particular. I can tell you pretty much all of it. You know, I can hum most of it, and I can. But with this game, like I could tell you what it sounds like, but I couldn't tell you what my favorite one was. Maybe the Armadillos theme. I remember that being pretty good, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it was definitely high quality.
I think I like this music more because when I compare it to Mega Man 7, it's what I consider 16-bit Mega Man music to be, whereas 7 feels like it's kind of holding on to the 8-bit era a little bit too much with its choices.
It was really bland, if I remember. Like, it just it didn't stand out very much in 7, except for the museum level, which was just a medley of old Mega Man songs. This totally is what Mega Man should sound like if you want an edgier Mega Man. It doesn't feel as iconic, because I think we had talked about on previous episodes going through up into, like, you know, Mega Man 7, 8, and 11, is that something is lost without that 8-bit sound for some reason. I'm guessing that's what it is with John, and it is with me too. But the soundtrack just rocks. Like, it is full of, quote, guitar solos in it, especially Spark Mandrill's song that is just all guitar solo, all noodling. And Armored Armadillo's song, John, is awesome. That's like one of, like, that one's a little more down tempo and kind of like groovy, like jazzy kind of track. I think that's the one that's like yeah, like it's there's a nice blend of styles through this soundtrack. So I think it's really good, but no, it's not going to ever stand out more than Mega Man 2 to me. I don't think you can get better than that. Except maybe Mega Man 3. Both of those soundtracks are so strong.
And if you like the 8-bit Mega Man music, definitely check out Mega Man 4. Just the music. Don't bother with the game unless you're doing a podcast or something.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Animation. The Hot Blooded Challenger Club podcasts are a proud affiliate of Animation Legends. Head on over to animationlegends.com and scope the large assortment of animation cells they're offering. Own a piece of animation history. For just $25, you can get 5 different cells from some of your favorite animated shows. Shows like He-Man, G.I. Joe, Vampire Hunter D, Captain N, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Star Wars Ewoks, and many other. And you can pay even less with our special promo code RINGS at checkout. That's RINGS. Go to animationlegends.com or click the link in this show's description and tell them that the Hot Blooded Challenger Club sent you with our promo code RINGS. Oh, hey there, listener. I didn't see it come in. Well, since you're here, let me personally thank you for listening to this program. If you'd like to show your support a little bit further, check out the Hot Blooded Challenger Club. That's hotbloodedchallenger.club. You can become a member for as little as $1 a month. And with that $1, you get early access to premium episodes of this very podcast. What's a premium episode? Additional content that's cut just for club members. You could be listening to that instead of this advertisement right now. And hey, don't have the buck, but want to support the show? Leave us a 5-star review on your podcast catcher of choice. Honestly, it goes so far to help our algorithm, so one day you could hear me advertising for comfortable underoos or a really good mattress or yet another subscription box. But regardless, thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show.
Mega Man.
Treat yourself to Chrono Trigger while you're
I mean, like, if you're a big fan of Japanese RPGs and you haven't played Chrono Trigger, have fun in the 8th grade this year coming up. Because I gotta believe you've played it.
I would hope so, man.
Then we're back. So yeah, let's wrap up with our final thoughts on Mega Man X. This is the only Mega Man X game I've played. I haven't played, 2 or any of the subsequent sequels. So I am interested to see how the series evolves, as much as I was interested to see how the series for the core series of Mega Man evolved through the different iterations. So I'm kind of excited to play more of these. I like this game a lot.
I liked the game. I thought I appreciated its ambition, and I never really understood how far it pushed video games as a medium until I played it. Like, I appreciated it more because, to be honest with you, when I got the Z-SNES or whatever, in the mid-2000s, and you're like, okay, I'm going to play all these Super Nintendo games. I'm going to play Super Star Wars and Super Mario World and stuff. And I had no great emotional connection to Mega Man, so I probably played X a couple of times and then forgot about it. But playing it now, I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate what it was trying to do as far as telling the story and what it was doing graphically and pretty much the whole package. Very good game.
Beyond the nostalgia trip that this game is for me, because I was a subscriber to Nintendo Power, I was on the hype train for this game. I loved Mega Man. It's fantastic. It's one of the best platformers on the Super Nintendo, at least until you get to Sigma's levels, which are really fucked up, and like many previous Mega Man games, are them just throwing everything they can at you in the cheapest way possible to try to slow you down.
Yeah, let's talk about the one particular spot that is, as Gotta Go Cast's Peter Graphic would say, a hot slice of bullshit. Keith, what moment in Mega Man X is a hot slice of bullshit?
Well, the first time I played through this last year, it was the final one of the climbs up a hallway, like a tower.
I always call it a tunnel.
Yeah, it's like a tunnel going upward. There are those Mace Joes, there are guns on the wall, and there's one other enemy, and they all seem to respawn the instant they are off the screen, and the only way to get through is to literally just barrage it. And once you know something that's taken out in later X games, at least in X4, you can't jump off a wall in those games because you have an air dash in those, but you just have to do that. You just have to wall dash up the part of it and hope you're going to get to the top. Because if you try to keep shooting these things and climbing up, they just keep respawning. Yeah. But the time I played through it now, it's the very beginning of Sigma's level with the floating platforms and the enemies that respawn who hit you and laugh at you. And like, it's so mean. For the Robot Masters, the 8 Robot Masters, those levels are perfect, and it's a wonderful, enjoyable experience.
We should mention, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that power-ups in this game, you can charge up as a charge shot, but they have different abilities when they are fully charged, and the Chameleon's power-up is really what you're supposed to use in that vertical tunnel, because it makes you invincible.
Don't tell you to do that.
And there's nothing to tell you to do that, correct? Unless you begged your parents to subscribe to Nintendo Power.
All my old Nintendo Powers are at my mother's place, and we don't talk, so, maybe someday I'll get those again, and then I can get back to Mega Man X. Depressing.
So where... Well, now we have to rank Mega Man X among its brothers and sisters on our greatest Mega Man games of all time as ranked by 20XX. Now, if you are a listener in Season 1, you already know that we've established a list of 11 Mega Man games, 1 being the best, 11 being the worst. Right now in our list, Mega Man 3 is ranked first, and at the bottom of our list, at the 11th place, is Mega Man 9. So where are we placing Mega Man X?
I'll jump off right here and say I think this deserves to push back Mega Man 11 a spot. I think this deserves to be put in 4th place.
All right, so you'd put it underneath
I think.
Mega Man 5, which is in our 3rd place spot. Okay.
Yeah, because even those, because always remember, even Mega Man 2, which is at number 2, has one of the worst Wily Castle bosses ever. That is the biggest fuck you.
Sure.
So even with the fuck you levels areas with Sigma and not telling you what you need to do to get through them, I think this game is definitely better constructed than any of those other ones. I mean, maybe it could go behind 11, but I don't know. 11's a hard choice because that's a modern game, so it's a little different.
11's good, but I think 11 has more, like, fuck you moments in it. I mean, for me it did because my brain can't handle springs in games for some reason.
Oh, Kyle, I was thinking of you the other day with Celeste. There is some timing, bouncy clouds in that I was like, Kyle would hate.
I don't know why. Just like my brain can't handle it. I'm happy with keeping Mega Man 5 in 3rd place. John, I know you don't have a ton of experience with these other titles, but would you feel comfortable ranking Mega Man X 4th?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so there it is. Mega Man X ranked 4th on our list of greatest Mega Man games of all time as ranked by 20XX. Thank you for doing that, Keith.
Got you.
And well, that just about does it for us. I'd like to thank our host for joining me on the first episode of Season 2 for 20XX, and also thank the members of the Hot Blooded Challenger Club, without whom this podcast is simply not possible. If you'd like to become a member of the Hot Blooded Challenger Club, visit hotbloodedchallenger.club. Wow, I said club weird there. My goodness, I'm thinking about the springs. My brain's melting a little bit. You can nominate a Mega Man game for us to discuss by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. It all stays in with your nomination. And you can also fast-track your nomination by simply becoming a member of the Hot Blooded Challenger Club for as little as $1 a month. Until next time,